Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And my guest today is the founder of Peaceful Learning Nanny Agency. She's discovered the joy of following her passion and how it has led to become her main source of income. It's been the best, most emotional and stressful journey she's ever been on, so we'll be asking her lots about that, but she wouldn't change it for anything. Every day is a learning experience, and she says there's nothing boring about following and fulfilling your dreams. She's constantly growing and finds herself doing things that she wouldn't have considered doing a year ago. So it's a big welcome to Lara Ritson. Hi Lara, how are you doing?
Hi Pat, I'm doing really well, thank you.
So I'm always talking on these videos about the power of networking and why it's so important. And you and I have met through a network, but we've never actually met in person because it's not actually very possible. And so you can explain why. Why have we never met?
Sure, so right now I am talking to you from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Which is part of my journey of this entrepreneurial lifestyle. Yeah, I moved here in January this year as the next stage or phase of my business.
Excellent, but we're going to wind back so we can find out where this journey started. So you left school and you went off to university. What did you do at university?
I did. So I took a gap year before uni because, like most young people, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I went to university and I studied anthropology and psychology with the aim to become a child psychologist. And then something happened to my cousin, who was 5 at the time. And it broke my heart, and I realized that I couldn't deal with heartbreaking situations on a day-to-day business. My passion for children's welfare and bringing joy to their lives is so important to me. So I had a good think, and a lot of my papers said that the most important years of a child's life is the early years. So especially the first 2, there's a lot of development happening there. And so I thought, okay, well, how can I contribute positively? So I thought, oh, great, I'll be an early years teacher. And at the time, my grandma, who's an Alexander Technique teacher, so if anyone knows what that is, that's...
I actually do. I've done a few years of Alexander Technique, so it's all about the body alignment.
Yes, exactly. And whenever I think about it, I poise myself.
Yes, I do. As soon as you said it, I thought I better sit up properly.
Yeah.
Right, now my shoulders are back. You can say a bit more.
So it's about free movement of the spine. And one of her co-workers, a fellow Alexander Technique teacher, worked in a nursery that used the RIE approach, which is about free movement of a child, so no contraptions, and basing relationships off of trust and respect, and using sensitive observation to really see what the child's needing. And I thought, wow, that's so fascinating, and I went over to the center, and it's not like other centers. You can't just walk into the room and start playing with the babies and the children. It's very respectful of their space. And they understand the importance of primary caregiving and all of that. And you have to work your way into the center. And so for a good few months, I'd say almost 6 months, I was just washing their clothes, and I was just in the background.
I think what you're saying is so important because, when I had my son, I was a working mum, and I needed to take him to somewhere where I knew he would not just be safe, but where he could thrive and develop. And, I think so many working mums have that guilt about leaving their precious child with someone. To know that you're really giving them a great start is just so important.
Exactly, yeah. And so this centre. It's called TLC in New Zealand. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing, blew me away. And I was hooked from then on with this approach. And I read so many books, and I even flew to Hungary, Budapest, where it originated from, in an orphanage post World War II, where Dr. Pickler did longitudinal studies of the effects of this type of care. Somewhere along those lines, I went to London for my cousin's wedding, and I met a man, and
this stuff happens.
Stuff happens, you know. Yes, at that time I was living in New Zealand, and I met a man, and I moved to London to be with him. And I got into teaching in the UK, and then I got very depressed. It was very different to what I was used to in New Zealand, where children have a lot of freedom. They use child-led learning, and the respect element of what I'm used to is very different. So I lasted about 8 months, and then I went back to nannying. Yeah. And I joined, I think, 8 to 10 different nanny agencies in the UK. And then I experienced the world of, I think they're called VIP nannies. So you travel the world with like royals from Saudi Arabia, Russians, and that kind of caliber of people, and discovered that this world exists. It was amazing.
Well, that sounds like a good step in a good direction. So is that the next step that you took then, was to join that?
Yes. So I did a few short stints with some few high caliber families, and what I discovered is that there was so much pressure on these children to be something and to represent their family in the way that the family want them to. And you know, at one point I was looking after a 4-year-old boy, and he was expected to take all these classes, and he spoke Russian, English, and French fluently, and which is so amazing. And yeah, I just had all these expectations on his shoulders, and at the same time he wasn't receiving that love and time with his parents. And I'm not the kind of person who can be inauthentic in my work. And I really just wanted to promote that between the mother and the child. But the mother thought that there were other things that were more important than that. And so what I found is that actually children, it doesn't, you know, in very wealthy families are craving this attention and love from their parents. And I just felt like, how can I help those children as well? I went, all over the world with these families. And then it kind of got me. I really just wanted to bring what I know into a family's home and to show them how it can be with their children, while still being authentic with themselves. And at the same time, I had families coming to me asking me if I could work for them because they wanted a nanny that uses Magda Germer's educaring approach. And at the same time, I had other nannies coming to me asking me if I knew any families. And I thought, I'll just create an agency to connect these people together. And then that's how it came about, really. I didn't even think about it. I didn't have a business plan. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just had this vision. And then I just created the website, and boom, it just took off. And
So where were you at this stage? Were you in the UK or New Zealand? Or
I was in Spain for the summer with my boyfriend because he's Spanish, and I created the website there, and then I launched it, but it wasn't an official launch, you know.
Yeah.
I just put it out there, and overnight I had like 11 families inquire.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
And were most of the nannies and the families in Europe or whereabouts?
Yeah. At that time, London. Yeah, London. And my first client ever was actually based in New York. It was a word of mouth recommendation from someone. And it was a high net worth family. So I had my work cut out for me.
Yeah.
I was thrown in the deep end, definitely. Yes.
And how has it developed since? When was that and what's happened next?
So that was in August 2017. And for the first 6 months was just a huge learning journey. I think I made very little money. My boyfriend was supporting me at the time, thankfully for him. And I just learned so much about myself as well. I studied psychology, and I've been to therapy, and I've done a lot of self-reflection in my teaching because that involves self-reflection. But this is like on another level. You have to really look at yourself, look at your weaknesses, look at your capabilities, and really, what I'm doing right now, I didn't think I was capable of doing a year ago. And, if I think about what I should be doing in a year's time, I feel very overwhelmed. And I think, wow, that's so much. I can't even think about that. So I've had to, it's baby steps, one step, one foot in front of the other, one thing at a time. And eventually you get to where you're supposed to be.
Well, I tell you from my experience that this time next year, you'll have achieved something you hadn't even thought of this year.
Exactly.
Not even the things that you had in mind, because you kind of have this A to B plan, and then it kind of goes A to C, and you think, I never expected that. And that's great, because it's great to have a business plan. It's great to plan it all out, but it's not actually what happens.
Yeah.
So what brought about the move to Mexico?
So I've always had this dream since I was 20, which is 10 years ago, by the way, that I would follow the sun and create a lifestyle where that's made possible. I didn't know how I was going to do that. And then I realized that I was in a position where I could actually make that happen. And it was very scary because it meant I was actually achieving one of my goals or my dreams. So of course I procrastinated and put it off for a while. And eventually I did it. I was just like, okay, I've just got to do it. So I bought my tickets and came here, and I don't know what I was afraid of, because it's amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing with dreams. They are amazing. And you think, why did I put off following my dream? Because my dream is amazing. So how many clients do you have now, or how many nannies are you working with now?
So that's a great question. So I've interviewed probably about 500 nannies over my time. I would say about 50% of them didn't make it to our agency. I say our because I have a team of people working with me now. And so I'd say about 250 are on our books, but we're working with probably 20 to 30 at a time. Yeah.
Good. So this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, and today I'm talking to Lara Ritson. So Lara, I'm going to dig a bit deeper now that we've heard some of your story. And so you've talked about following your passion and your dream. Is there an overarching passion and a dream? What really motivates you every day?
The thing that drives me, that keeps me going, is that I want every child to experience an authentic relationship with their parents, where both parent and child feel heard and seen, respected and trusted, and that there's love there.
And how do you ensure that other people, these other nannies, fit into that?
Yeah, so great question. So in our screening process, we ask scenario questions for how they would react if a child is acting a certain way. And let's say one of our questions is, what would you do if a 2-year-old hits another child? And I guess the traditional parenting method or authoritarian is tell the child that that's naughty, and that they need to go sit on the naughty step or time out, and make them sit for however many minutes their age is, which is something that was brought to people's awareness by Super Nanny. Okay. And they're made to sit on a step for 2 minutes. But so much research shows that a 2-year-old doesn't have the cognitive function to reflect on their behavior. They're just using tools that they already know to get what they need or what they want. And so without a role model showing them tools or other ways of how they could get what they need or want, they're just being made to sit there and feel shame and think like, well, why am I sitting here? And they're not thinking about, oh, I hit someone, oh, that's not very nice, and all that. So yeah. And also another thing that is quite common is for children made to say sorry to that person. And with this, making a child say sorry, it's not creating empathy in them for the action that they've done, to see what they've done is not right. It's just training them that if you hit someone, you say sorry. So there's no feeling behind that, there's no authenticity. And so rather than forcing them to say sorry, making them aware of the consequences of their actions, like, oh, look, so and so is really sad, can you see that they're crying? And then getting them to really, really see and connecting with that. And it's amazing, the results of this. It just gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Do you miss that one-to-one work? Because one of the things that I talk about is this in Hot Women Rock, is this question the neurological level of your identity, and your identity actually organizing all of your brain functions underneath it. And so you've gone from this identity of being a nanny into an identity of being an entrepreneur. And I just wonder, was that difficult, or did that excite you?
It was difficult and it was exciting. I think there are moments where it's very draining, because there's a lot of work that goes into being an entrepreneur that I didn't think that I would be doing. Examples would be sales and marketing.
Yes.
Which I always think as a used car salesman, that was my image of sales. It's completely changed now. It's just sharing people with your message and why you're doing what you're doing. And if people like that, then that's great. And so my whole perception of that's changed. Now it's exciting.
And how have you built up all of your skills around being an entrepreneur? Because there's a huge difference between, just marketing yourself, getting out there, doing your job, finding the next job, to actually building this business. So all of that support work that you have to do, the website building, the recruitment and everything else, how have you gained all of those skills?
So it's really great that we're living in this technological age, because there are so many, like if you're on a really small tight budget, there are so many free things that you can find online that give you a bit of guidance when you're starting out. And also I would really recommend finding a mentor or someone in your industry that is successful, who can give you a bit of guidance as well. I was really lucky that there was an association of nanny agencies in the UK. And so they were there from day one to help guide me and make sure I was working in integrity, and helping me with paperwork and lawyers and contracts and all of that. And so now I have a one-to-one business coach, and I'm in groups like we're in, which is very helpful. This journey has shown my weak spots, and so every
development areas, let's call them development areas.
Development areas, yes. So whenever a development area presents itself, I then go and look for information and people to connect to that are going to help that area become a strong area for me.
Lovely. So what does success mean for you now?
Success is, for me, is to have a positive working environment with my team, where I have a great balance between work and life, and where I have continuous income that's reliable coming into the company. So I have a target this year to reach, 1,000 children. So I think that's also success, is reaching my target.
Beautiful. And you've already given us some of your top tips for new entrepreneurs around that coaching and the mentoring. Are there any other top tips that you would give to new entrepreneurs?
This is going to be really hard when you're starting. Create personal time, like downtime for yourself. I would recommend, I know when I started, I was so excited. I get up and I get right into it. I was working like 14, 16-hour days. I was just in it. I was so unhealthy. Thankfully, my boyfriend was there just putting food on my table. But yeah, if you can create that healthy schedule at the beginning, I think that would be really helpful in the long run, because it helps your brain to think better when you look after yourself, because your business is yourself. Yeah,
if you're not looking after yourself, then when it's not very good for your brand, because people look at you and think, well, she's stressed out, why am I going to her? So it's a pretty good idea to take care of yourself, and in that way probably making your business more profitable. So this has been great, Lara, and I'm sure people watching will want to know more about you. How can they find you? Tell us about your website or how they can contact you.
Sure. So my website is called alternativenannies.com. My company is called Peaceful Learning. And if you go on the website, there are many ways that you can contact me. You can give me a call or email me. I'd be happy to hear from you and share with you any advice or my experience.
Excellent. Thank you so much for talking to me today. So what have we learned from today? So that importance of finding those people who can support and help you at the beginning, the coaches, the mentors, particularly if this is your first business. You can't know everything, and that's okay. You have to find the people who've walked down this path that can help you. And also taking care of yourself is a great tip, and following your dreams and not putting off your dreams. They're not nightmares, they're dreams, they're good things. So taking that step, and you said that right at the beginning, it's one step at a time. And I've done some shamanic work, and my shamanic power animal is the tortoise. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, I'm nothing like a tortoise, I'm more like the hare. But the tortoise takes one step at a time. It goes over really difficult terrain just by keeping going. And it carries its safe house with it. So actually, I love my tortoise now. I gift you a tortoise.
Oh, yes, I need one.
Thank you so much, Lara. And to all of our viewers, keep watching out for more of these wonderful interviews with amazing entrepreneurs. And I'll see you next time.